Car crashes can happen in seconds, changing lives forever. Some leave behind destruction too horrific to forget, while others reveal the rare chance of survival against impossible odds. Within these 6 stories are moments of sudden tragedy and moments where survival itself feels unreal. People who should not have made it yet did. In this video, we'll explore 6 of the most horrifying car crashes ever recorded. From lives lost in an instant to the rare few who walked away when no one expected them to. It was May 1st, 1994, at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari in Imola, Italy. The world was watching the San Marino Grand Prix. Leading that race was Ayrton Senna, a 3-time Formula One world champion from Brazil. At just 34 years old, he was seen as the best driver of his generation. That Sunday was meant to be his return to form after a rough start to the season. Instead, it became one of the darkest days in motorsport. The weekend had already been filled with disaster. On April 29th, during Friday practice, Jordan driver Rubens Barrichello, a young Brazilian and close friend of Senna, lost control at 225 kilometers per hour. His car went airborne, slammed into barriers, and flipped. He was knocked unconscious and nearly stopped breathing before medical staff cleared his airway. He survived with a broken nose and sprained wrist, but was out for the rest of the weekend. Senna rushed to the medical center and was shaken by the sight of his injured friend, but the worst was still to come. The next day, April 30th, Austrian driver Roland Ratzenberger crashed at 314 kilometers per hour after part of his front wing broke off. His car failed to turn at the Villeneuve curve and hit a concrete wall. Senna once again rushed to the scene, but this time the outcome was fatal. Ratzenberger became the first driver to lose his life at a Formula One event since 1982. Senna was devastated. FIA doctor Sid Watkins even suggested he stop racing, reminding him he had nothing left to prove. Senna refused, telling Watkins he had to continue. On race day, Senna was still unsettled. His Williams FW16 had been unstable all season. Electronic driver aids like active suspension and traction control had been banned that year, leaving the car harder to control. In the first 2 races, Senna had started from pole but failed to finish, giving his rival Michael Schumacher a 20-point lead. That Sunday morning, Senna spoke to other drivers about bringing back the Grand Prix Drivers Association to push for better safety. But when the race started, more chaos followed. JJ Lehto stalled on the grid, and Pedro Lamy struck him at full speed. Debris injured a police officer and 8 spectators. The safety car was deployed, but it was too slow, leaving drivers frustrated as tire temperatures dropped. On lap 6, the race resumed. Senna led with Schumacher behind. 1 lap later, approaching the fast Tamburello corner at 309 kilometers per hour, Senna's car left the track. He braked hard, downshifted, but the car struck the concrete wall at 211 kilometers per hour. The front right wheel and suspension broke off, striking Senna's helmet and causing devastating injuries. Cameras showed him motionless, then moving slightly, giving hope he might survive. Medical teams led by Watkins performed emergency procedures and flew him to Bologna's Maggiore Hospital. Despite efforts, Senna passed away at 6:37 p.m. He was 34. Inside his car, officials found a small Austrian flag. He had planned to wave it in honor of Ratzenberger. Brazil declared 3 days of mourning. Over 3 million people attended his funeral in São Paulo. Tributes poured in worldwide, including from rivals and fans in Japan. Senna's passing, along with Ratzenberger's, forced Formula One to act. Safety standards were overhauled, cars were redesigned, circuits improved, and the Drivers' Association reformed. For more than 20 years, there were no further fatalities until Jules Bianchi in 2015. Senna's family later founded the Ayrton Senna Institute, which has helped over 36 million children in Brazil. 30 years later, in 2024, Lewis Hamilton honored his hero by driving Senna's McLaren at the Brazilian Grand Prix. Ayrton Senna's final race changed Formula One forever. Millions saw it live, not just as a crash, but as the moment the world lost one of its greatest legends. It was August 16, 2025, in Houston, Texas. Food influencers Nina Santiago and Patrick Blackwood were filming another video for their YouTube channel, Unrated EX Files. The two were known for visiting restaurants across the city, giving unfiltered reactions to meals. On this day, they chose QV's culinary creations on Eldridge Parkway in the Westchase area. Nina, known online as Nina Unrated, had been creating content for more than 10 years. Her food channel had nearly 400,000 subscribers and over 12 million views. She was active across multiple platforms, including OnlyFans. Patrick, her partner, was a fitness trainer, athlete model, and fellow creator who shared her passion for food and filming. They had planned a simple video, tasting salmon sliders inside the restaurant. A camera was mounted in front of their booth near the glass wall. Meals on the table, smiles on their faces. They pressed record at around 4:41 p.m. At first, everything seemed normal. They toasted their sliders, took a bite, and reacted with enthusiasm. Seconds later, everything changed. An SUV suddenly crashed through the window beside them. The impact shattered the glass wall, sending shards flying across the dining area. Their booth and table were crushed. Nina was thrown to the floor. Patrick stood to help her as pieces of glass rained down, one landing in his lap. Chaos spread through the restaurant. Customers froze in shock, unsure of what they had just witnessed. According to the Harris County Sheriff's Office, the driver was a woman attending a private event. She believed her car was in park, but when she released the brake, it rolled forward into the building. Police found no signs of alcohol, drugs, or reckless intent. It was a mistake. But for Nina and Patrick, the mistake nearly cost them their lives. The SUV had been moving between 35 and 40 miles per hour when it struck, powerful enough to destroy their booth entirely. Had they been seated differently, the outcome could have been much worse. The terrifying moment was caught on camera. In the video, glass bursts toward the lens. Patrick shields Nina, and they scramble to escape. Emergency responders arrived quickly, transporting them both to the hospital. Nina later posted photos of her cuts on Instagram. Patrick also suffered injuries to his face and chest. Both survived, though shaken. They shared heartfelt messages online. Nina wrote about forgiveness and living in the moment, while Patrick emphasized gratitude and purpose. Nina even credited her late pet Loyal, who passed in 2024, saying she felt its spirit had protected them. The crash footage spread rapidly across YouTube, Instagram, and X, with millions shocked at how close the couple came to disaster. Supportive comments flooded in. QV's also released a statement, relieved everyone was safe, and confirmed the driver would cover damages. Days later, Nina and Patrick returned to QV's. They filmed themselves eating brunch at the same spot, saying they wanted closure and that the food remained excellent. Police concluded the SUV had not malfunctioned. It was human error, nothing more. The driver's name was not released and she faced no charges. For Nina and Patrick, though, it wasn't just an accident. It was a life-changing moment. In their own words, "We were inches from disaster, but by some miracle we're both okay, just forever changed." It was March 1st, 2024 in Louisville, Kentucky. Sydney Thomas, a 26-year-old semi-truck driver and mother of a young son, was on her regular route across the Clark Memorial Bridge. The bridge, also called the 2nd Street Bridge, connects downtown Louisville to southern Indiana. Each lane is just over 10 feet wide with no shoulder, leaving little room for mistakes. Sydney had been with Cisco for 2 years. The work was tough, but she was skilled and confident. That morning, she was running behind schedule, trying to make up time as she crossed the bridge she had driven many times before. But in seconds, everything went wrong. Dashcam video later showed what happened. A pickup truck driven by 33-year-old Trevor Branham swerved into her lane to avoid a stalled electric car ahead. His truck slammed into Sydney's semi, knocking out her steering and suspension. She had no control as the semi broke through the bridge railing. Her cab was left dangling nearly 100 feet above the Ohio River. Inside, Sydney stayed frozen in her seat, strapped in by her seatbelt, gripping the wheel with both hands. She pressed the brake, terrified to move, knowing the weight of the trailer hanging behind her could shift at any second. Her first thought, "This is it." Then, What a crazy way to go. For the next 40 minutes, she sat suspended in the air. Sydney could not swim, so she imagined her only chance if the truck fell. Unbuckle fast, open the door, and try to jump free before hitting the water. But her thoughts quickly turned to her 5-year-old son, Mason. Mason is full of energy, living with autism and nonverbal. The thought of leaving him behind was unbearable. I just kept thinking about my son, she said later. On the bridge, traffic stopped. Drivers rushed to the edge and called down to her, trying to keep her calm until firefighters arrived. Louisville's high-angle rescue team soon made a plan. Specialist Bryce Carden was lowered by rope to her cab. When he reached her window, he asked, "Are you a praying woman?" She said yes, and they prayed together. For the first time since the crash, Sydney felt hope. Instead of opening the cab door, which was too risky, Carden pulled her through the window. A harness was lowered, her seatbelt cut, and together they were lifted back to the bridge, suspended over the river. The rescue, filmed and later watched by millions, took about 5 minutes. Sydney survived with no serious injuries. Her parents, Tori and stepfather Charles Carver, had watched the rescue on TV, unaware it was their daughter until she called from the hospital crying. Her mother later recalled her saying, "All I could see was death looking me in the face." Her parents stepped in to care for Mason while Sydney recovered. Mason needs constant supervision, so they launched a fundraiser to build a fence for his safety and to help with expenses. Sydney still struggles with trauma. A month later, she couldn't bring herself to cross the same bridge. Her father, Mark Thomas, also a truck driver, said the rescue was not luck but divine intervention. The driver who caused the crash, Trevor Branham, was charged with multiple counts of wanton endangerment and driving on a suspended license. Witnesses said he had been weaving through traffic. Despite everything, Sydney chose forgiveness. "I can't hold hate in my heart. Being angry forever won't help me." Sydney later reunited with Carden to thank him, calling him brave and kind. Though she continues to battle fear, she believes her survival had a purpose. On March 1st, Sydney Thomas was staring at the end, but someone reached out and she lived to see her son again. It was June 17th, 2024 in Melbourne, Australia. At around 9 a.m., a stolen Mercedes-AMG CLA 45 was spotted weaving through the streets of Parkville. Inside were a 40-year-old man and a 28-year-old woman. The car had been reported stolen the day before in St. Kilda, and now it was at the center of a reckless chase. The event was captured entirely on camera, but not by police or news helicopters. This was recorded from inside the stolen car itself, through a dash cam that picked up both video and sound. It showed every word the suspects spoke as they made rushed choices that led to one disaster after another. The video starts with the Mercedes parked in a lot. Outside, police surround the car with weapons drawn, ordering the suspects to get out. Inside, panic sets in. "We're gonna have to run," the man says. "Just go out, just drive right past them," the woman replies quickly. Officers lay out stop sticks, but the driver slams the gas. Tires screech as the car rockets forward. One front tire is punctured, yet they keep going. "Go, baby, go," the woman yells over the engine. The chase is now fully underway. For a few moments, only the sound of the car fills the video. The driver takes a sharp turn down an alley and swerves cleanly onto another street. "Now how's that for driving, darling?" he says with pride. But traffic soon slows them down. Cars block intersections, and the flat tire makes control harder. The woman grows more nervous. "Get us away. I'm scared," she says, her voice unsteady. The man tries to sound calm, suggesting they ditch the car and escape on a tram. But she reminds him, "They know what we look like. We can't just ditch it here." Believing police are right behind them, their driving becomes desperate. The Mercedes runs red lights, speeds onto the wrong side of the road, and nearly clips pedestrians. They are no longer thinking clearly, only reacting. Then they reach the intersection of Royal Parade and Gatehouse Street in Parkville. The driver ignores a red light and collides directly with a Ford Ranger. The crash is violent. The Mercedes spins, hits a parked car, and comes to a stop as smoke rises from the wreck. A nearby resident records the aftermath. The woman yells, "Get out!" Both suspects run, but police close in within seconds and arrest them. Remarkably, no one is seriously hurt. The 53-year-old driver of the Ford Ranger escapes injury. The suspects are taken to the hospital under police guard. The man with minor injuries, the woman for observation. Authorities confirm the Mercedes was stolen from St. Kilda the day before. The dashcam footage is uploaded online, and on the Facebook page Dashcam Owners Australia, it gains over 1 million views. Viewers are stunned by how much was caught from inside the car. The 40-year-old driver faces multiple serious charges, including vehicle theft, dangerous driving, reckless conduct endangering life, and more. He was scheduled to appear in Melbourne Magistrates Court on August 9th. The 28-year-old passenger is charged with vehicle theft. She was granted bail and faced court in September. The 4-minute video doesn't just show a chase. It shows the tension, fear, and reckless choices that ended in a crash and arrests. They thought they could escape. They didn't. It was March 15, 2017, in the mountain town of Franklin, North Carolina. At Noah's Ark Companion Animal Hospital, the day started normally. Staff moved through their morning routines and the animals rested quietly. The clinic sat along an ordinary street with a small parking lot out front. Nothing seemed unusual. By 11 a.m., 2 employees were in the reception area. Normally 4 worked there, but 2 had stepped out to run errands. Behind the front desk stood the office manager, while another staff member handled paperwork. 4 dogs, Julius, Cleopatra, 80, and another unnamed dog, were lying on the floor in small nooks. The office was calm. Then a violent crash shattered everything. A white Chrysler convertible, driven by a client of the hospital, suddenly accelerated toward the building. The driver had meant to press the brake but instead pushed the gas. The car surged forward, tore through a small garden outside, and smashed straight into the lobby. The impact destroyed the front of the building. Security cameras caught the moment the car burst through the wall, throwing debris across the room. The office manager was hit directly and sent flying across the space before vanishing under a fallen bookcase and furniture. It all happened in seconds. On the floor nearby, Julius, a 60-kilogram dog, and Cleopatra had been resting. The car passed directly over them. By chance, the wheels and undercarriage missed their bodies. Both ended up pinned beneath the vehicle, but unharmed. The 2 remaining dogs were trapped under falling rubble. Again, incredibly, neither was seriously injured. The second employee witnessed everything. She rushed to the office manager, who, though badly shaken and pinned under debris, was still conscious. The bookcase that landed on her had been partially supported by other wreckage, keeping it from crushing her. With help, she managed to pull herself free. Even injured, the office manager stayed composed. She picked up the phone and called emergency services. Franklin Fire Rescue arrived within minutes. They confirmed that staff, animals, and the driver were all safe with no life-threatening injuries. A small fire had started in the wreckage, likely from the engine or debris, but was quickly put out. With the fire contained, staff focused on freeing the trapped dogs. Julius was pulled out first. Despite his size, he had been wedged under the car but was alive. Cleopatra was freed next, followed by the 2 dogs caught under debris. One of them, 80, had already been recovering after being struck by a car prior to this accident. She had come to the clinic to heal, only to nearly be struck again inside the building. Outside, the driver had been helped from the car. Though shaken, she was not seriously hurt. Clinic owner Dawn Todd later spoke to reporters. She explained that only 2 staff members had been in the office at the time. One of our employees was actually hit by a car while she was working. She's okay. Everyone is okay. Images of the aftermath showed a wrecked lobby, collapsed walls, broken furniture, debris everywhere. Yet everyone inside survived with minor injuries at most. The crash was the result of a simple mistake, hitting the gas instead of the brake. But inside that destroyed clinic, every person and every animal lived through it. The hospital soon reopened in the parts of the building that were still usable. The survival of the office manager, the staff's calm response, and the dogs walking away unharmed made the event unforgettable. It was May 4th, 2025, at Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 1 in Parañaque City, Philippines. Travelers were going about their morning when everything changed in an instant. A black Ford Everest SUV suddenly rammed into people outside the departure area. Within seconds, 2 lives were lost and several others were injured. At around 8 a.m., the driver, 47-year-old Leo Gonzalez from Batangas, had just dropped off a passenger. Like countless drivers before him, he parked in the designated zone. But then, instead of pressing the brake, he stepped on the gas. The SUV shot forward, broke through the outer railing, and struck a group of people waiting nearby. One of the victims was 4-year-old Malia Katesyuchin Masongsong. She had been with her mother, Cynthia, who was also hurt and taken to the hospital. Her father, Denmark, later had the painful task of telling his recovering wife the truth, that their only child was gone. The second life lost was 29-year-old Derek Keo Faustino, a senior supervisor at a publishing house. He had been at the airport with 2 colleagues preparing for a flight to Dubai. While unloading their luggage, Faustino was struck by the SUV. His co-workers described the desperate scene, seeing him pinned under the vehicle but unable to save him. 4 others were hurt. A 55-year-old woman and a 34-year-old survived with serious injuries. Another 4-year-old girl was also injured but recovered. Authorities moved quickly. Gonzalez was arrested by the NAIA police. He claimed another car had cut him off, causing him to panic and accelerate. But CCTV footage told a different story. No other car was in his way. The video showed the SUV accelerating on its own straight into the crowd. Gonzalez later tested negative for illegal substances. Still, the Land Transportation Office suspended his license for 90 days. He now faces charges for reckless actions resulting in loss of life, multiple injuries, and property damage. The crash also raised questions about the airport's safety measures. The SUV's impact shattered glass doors and sent debris across the walkway. Media images showed people lying injured on the ground as emergency crews tried to help. The Department of Transportation assured the public that the crash did not appear intentional, but said the investigation would continue. Secretary Vince Dazon urged people not to spread unverified claims. Still, one troubling report came from Faustino's family, who said he didn't get immediate medical help. His co-workers pleaded for an ambulance, but his severe injuries went unaddressed for too long. San Miguel Corporation, which operates NAIA through New Noya Infracorp, stepped in to cover medical costs and give financial aid to the families. Its president, Ramon Ang, promised full support, but money could not heal the grief. For the Masongsong family, losing Malia left an irreplaceable void. For Faustino's loved ones, the sudden loss of a hard-working son and brother shattered their future. The tragedy also pushed lawmakers to call for reform. Senator Grace Poe renewed her proposal for a Philippine Transportation Safety Board, pointing to this and other recent accidents as proof of the urgent need. As the investigation continues, the pain remains for the families left behind. 2 lives were cut short that morning outside the airport, and the weight of that loss will never fade.